Hey YouTube, hope you guys are doing good out there. So today we're going to talk about the 5.56 round, and is it an anemic round for combat and self-defense? Well, I think it's an excellent round for combat and self-defense. We're going to jump into some of the facts about it and some of the other scenarios and stories on why some people had that belief that it was anemic to begin with. Now, I'm sure there's going to be some haters out there, especially with all these new different rounds coming out, such as your 6.5 Grendels, your 6 Arcs, your pretty much anything 6mm out there. And a lot of people are going to be bashing on the 5.56. But let's go into a little bit of a history of it, and let's dissect some of the facts a little bit more. Then we can come up with a little bit better opinion. Now, one of the biggest detractors from the 5.56 was stories coming back from overseas about the ice picking effect, to where the round would go straight through an enemy without dumping its energy or doing any tumbling. Now, with the lack of tumbling and without the lack of fragmenting inside of an enemy combatant, the round was not as effective. However, let's take a look at a few of the reasons why that round did not act as expected. Now, most of these complaints about the needle picking came towards the middle and the end of the GWOT years. In the beginning of the GWOT years, there weren't as many complaints about it, part of the reason being because soldiers and Marines were using the M16A4s at the time. Now, the ammo, the M855 with the 62 grains, they're designed to be fired out of the M16A4 rifle, which has a 20-inch barrel, which gave that round the proper amount of velocity to which it was actually created around. The issue with this was we found out that clearing buildings with the 20-inch gun kind of sucks. So what did the Army do to help alleviate this problem with clearing a room with a long broomstick? Well, we got a shorter broomstick, the M4 with the 14.5-inch barrel. And then SOCOM, the cool guys, they wanted to use a even shorter barrel, especially with use of suppressors, which took it down further to a 10.5-inch barrel. However, there are some issues with this. So the main issue with this is the round was getting neutered of its velocity, from going from a 20-inch that was designed around and then going to a 14.5 and then to a 10.5. The 62 grain need a little bit more velocity to actually do its job a little bit better on target. Another contributing factor was shot placement. If you hit a softer area of the body, it's not going to have as much resistance to actually do anything, and it's just going to pass straight through. This wasn't always the case, but center mass is still a pretty big area to where you may or may not hit vital areas or hard areas. Now, when projectiles hit hard surfaces such as bones, even with the M855A1, it has a heck of a lot better chance of fragmenting or tumbling, just as you see in this picture with some ribs that got hit by a projectile.
Now, thanks to the Hague Conventions and the Geneva Conventions, the military cannot use soft points or hollow points. However, they do have a round such as the 77 grain open tip match that is good for accuracy, and then when it hits a target, it actually does some really good damage to it as well. Now, in the civilian sector, we can use whatever we want, hollow point, soft point, whatever you think is most effective for your needs.
Now, y'all can put together whatever type of self-defense ammo y'all want. Doesn't really matter to me. That's going to be your choice. Just do yourself a favor and test it. Test the accuracy of it and test it through some type of means of medium, if you would, as far as what type of things you want it to do as far as terminal ballistics, all right? So what I use is this Hornady Frontier cartridge, all right? This is a 68 grain boat tail hollow point match, and this has an advertised velocity of 2,960 feet per second. Now, that velocity was measured from that manufacturer coming out of a SAMI-spec barrel, which I believe is 18.5 inches. I may be incorrect. If I am, and you're knowledgeable about the SAMI-spec barrel, put in the comments, but I think that's about right. So mine being a 16-inch barrel, we're probably going to look at least 100 feet per second loss on this, if not maybe 150. So with that being said, I still think this is going to be a good round if I ever need to use it for self-defense. Plus, I like the heavier grains when it comes to 5.56. I'm just a fan because if I want to do reaching out far stuff, I can, but it does pretty decent up close too. All right, for range ammo, I'm going to be testing this stuff out. I haven't really tested this stuff out before, but I seen it at the one of the local gun shops, and and it kind of impressed me as far as the pricing goes. So let's go over some of these things real quick. So it is a 55 grain, it is a hollow point in Boattail, but bam, right there, under $6. So for right now in 2023 prices, you can't beat that. I am not the biggest component of steel case ammunition, just because there may be some quality control issues every once in a while through these types of manufacturers. However, I believe you should test your rifle to see if it can actually feed these. All right, and try different types of manufacturers and brands. I do like the fact that if your rifle does feed these, then guess what? No matter what situation you're in, you could probably diversify your ammo selection just a little bit more if it can feed it brass and steel. So to wrap this up, is a 5.56 and 223 a really good defensive round? Yes. Is the 5.56 a good combat round for the Army? Yes. It is still a very viable combat round. Now the M855, overall, yes, it is a jack of all trades type round. Yes. Does it do okay on most threats? Absolutely. Are there a few times that it passes through and it doesn't really give the best results? Yeah. However, does it also do barrier penetration or light barrier penetration, such as windows, cars, doors, stuff like that? Yeah, it does. So it's a good jack of all trades type thing, because soldiers find themselves in all sorts of different positions in combat, all right? No two firefights are ever going to necessarily be the same. So with that, the Army did good. It was an improvement from the older round, which was the M193, which was a 55 grain. That's the one that was used in Vietnam. And the problem with it was, now it was a little bit faster than the 62 grain, but it was also lighter. So it delivered really good terminal effects on target, right? To where it would hit, fragment, tumble, and all that good stuff. And there was a lot of dead NVA because of it. However, the issue of it was so light, anytime it hit like a little twig or something, it would start deflecting. All right, and a lot of rounds they actually do that, but the 5.56 and the lighter grained ones are even more susceptible to it. So they made something that would be a little bit more barrier penetrating, or light barrier penetrating, and the Army actually succeeded in that. Now for you guys, would I recommend the M855? No, and here's the reason why. So for defensive use, you have to think about it. You don't want something that has the potential to overpenetrate too much. Now if there's certain complaints about the M855 doing that, then I would probably go with something more of maybe a soft point. All right, pretty much just lead, no steel core, Boattail hollow point, what have you. All right, do your research with it. However, these rounds will do you just fine. Now another reason that you don't want to use M855 a whole lot is because you can't take them to a lot of ranges. It messes up the ranges, their backstops, their steel targets, all that stuff. So they don't even want you to really have it there at the range. So I would try to find some other type of ammo that your rifle runs accurately with, reliably with, and that you can get on a regular basis and try to stock up on. So I hope you guys got something out of this. Hope you guys had fun. Hope it wasn't too boring for you. And want you guys to be safe out there. Remember, love yourselves, love one another. Be safe.